Now, what about the Euphrates River drying up? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So that would be like, I mean, Ukrainian River. Well, it can't be a Ukrainian River because it's got to be the River Euphrates that dries up.
Euphrates, yeah, Euphrates.
So Euphrates, but see, that doesn't dry up until the end of the tribulation. See, that happens at the end of the tribulation, where it lets the 200 million, the army of 200 million, come over the Euphrates and have the Armageddon issue. We're not there yet. I mean, we would actually skip over if we were there. That would be around the seventh seal, the sixth. I mean, the sixth trumpet. But I'd say, where's the fifth trumpet? Where's the fourth trumpet? Where's the first trumpet? Where's the third seal? You see, you don't get all those kinds of things. I know they're there, but what we're living through is a type and shadow event. And people go, what do you mean? Okay, in the Old Testament, we have Melchizedek, who doesn't really have an exact beginning, and Moses sets him up, or Abraham sets him up, excuse me, as and he gives the first tithing event out to Melchizedek. And you go, and we know that Melchizedek is a shadow of Jesus, as Isaiah is a shadow, or Elijah specifically is a shadow of John the Baptist. The Bible always shadows things, gives you types and shadows. We're seeing a type and shadow of the tribulation, but we're not in the tribulation, because you'd be skipping over 650 verses. You don't get to skip them. And so I don't care what those things are, we're not there yet because we haven't hit the markers.
Yeah, I've seen videos of the Euphrates River drying up, and there's sound effects, and these sound effects coming from the videos, people are saying it's fallen angels, but videos can be doctored. So maybe
Absolutely.
the stuff I've seen, maybe the stuff I've seen was doctored.
Maybe it was, maybe a portion of it. I mean, but when your River Euphrates really dries up, which is in the late part of the tribulation, everyone in the world will know it. It won't be a clue. It won't be like, oh, maybe it happened. Everyone's going to know it. I mean, because 200 million men are going to drop across there. Trust me, you're gonna have a full clue exactly what's going to happen on that one.
Getting back to Nesara, do you think credit cards are going to exist after Nesara?
Let me answer that with, I'm going to bring over a kind of a little setup here. So I'm gonna share the screen here, okay? And I got to figure out how to do this here. So let me share the screen, and I'm going to pull this over. So can you see that there on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to show you this one here, but I'm going to make it as a slide here. So let's come on, resume the slideshow. Okay. So I want to explain that. So I want you to think about before Nesara. Okay, this is something I taught a while ago here recently. So before Nesara, we have bank accounts, we have your IRA, pensions, your house, cards, credit cards, and everything else, right? And they're outside of the system, okay? And then we also have, your taxable debts and, compound interest. Those are all yours in essence. These are stuff that you live with, okay? Now, on the bottom level is the sovereign government forcing the taxation. Did you know that there's not just 501c3, but they're actually sovereign groups, and they're exactly like the Vatican. I mean, the Vatican is a complete sovereign agency. And by the way, so is the Clinton Foundation and several other ones. So guess what? None of those guys have to deal with any of this stuff. Now, they have bank accounts and other houses and cars, but they don't have to pay for them. And it's such a unique kind of system. But this is how we live. where the sovereignty, the government, they don't have to fuss with all this stuff in the same way. Now, after Nesara, when the QFS comes in, the compound interest taxable nature will sit outside of this. And what will be inside is that quantum financial system. And it's sovereign from those other taxation and seizures. So your house, your pension, your credit cards, your bank accounts all sit inside of here. And there's no way to pierce through there's no way for the compound interest or the taxation to pierce through it. Meaning you won't have to pay whatever's on the credit card, because when they move your systems into the QFS, your house, your car, your bank accounts, all that stuff, they can't be taxed. And so it is going to be one of the most fascinating things. They won't be able to come in. And we've been actually hearing this. I'm going to kind of flip back over here. Let's see here. Sorry. Going to bring it over here. Like, not smart enough to do it here. Oh, sorry, there it is. Stop sharing. Okay, sorry. So what happened is that I've had people that have told me the same story, but they go, this one guy gets his car loan forgiven. He doesn't know what happened. He's calling up the bank. He's like screaming at the bank, "Well, you're not going to take my car. Where's my payment?" And I've had dozens and dozens of stories of this, and the answer is it was just paid off. And so your credit card is just going to get paid off. It's still yours, okay? But reality is this debt forgiveness issue is a one-time event. It's not going to keep happening over and over again. So guess what people are going to have to start doing is living within their means. When you get everything flushed out, you're going to have to start living within your means. So people who have been really good with debt issues are way ahead of the game of most people in the world. We need to learn from them. How do we live within our means in that way? And so again, the credit card's yours, the debt's going to go away, but you won't have any of the compound interest and all the other crap. But you're going to have to live with that. You're going to have to live with, how do you live in that new reality with that?
Now, when you try to educate naysayers, I mean, how do you deal with that? Because I try to educate everybody in my life, but almost nobody listens to me. So what advice can you give to people that are trying to educate friends and family, but they just won't wake up?
Well, I mean, a couple things is, I just had this conversation last night with this audiologist, a friend of mine, and she's really frustrated, and whether you're talking about mask issues, or you're talking about COVID issues, or you're talking about economic stuff, or the inflation, or it doesn't matter what you're talking about. You're talking about, Biden or whatever the circumstances. Here's the thing that you got to do. Ask questions. So you let people set up. Now, I'm going to share with you guys. You guys ought to be going to like Charlie Kirk and several other apologists. There is a guy named Frank Turek, and he does cross CROSS reference. And if you go look at his thing, he talks about this. And so people will ask him questions. And you're going, I could never answer the questions well enough. Here's the thing. All you have to be good at is ask the questions. So ask questions. And what you're going to find is that their logic is flawed. The problem that they have is that they have the authority-based logic for everything. Well, the government told me to wear a mask. The government told me that inflation's always going to be with me, or whatever the circumstances. Like, okay, is that ever possible that they lied? Well, yeah. Why do you think that we're seeing the media and the government in Hollywood all show up as liars for us? It's to help us understand that. The reality is, let them, let them kind of see that. And I gotta say, man, if you are not awake right now, boy, you're impressive. I mean, your ignorance is impressive. Now, I'm gonna, kind of do a little caveat in there. If you have parents who are upper baby boomers, or maybe more likely traditional generation or the greatest generation, and they don't have access to social media the way that many other people do. So give them a break. Okay. I trust me, I talked to tons and tons of those people. They don't have that access there. That's what the EBS is for. The EBS is to break the hold of that and share the information so that they can do it. But I say it this way, and I'm going to share the screen one more time if you don't mind, because I want to show you this one. This is do you see it on the screen there? Oh, can you see that there now?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to show you this one here. We're going to kind of flip over, and I'm going to do current slide. Okay, so sorry, we'll do a little slide points here. This is a slideshow I was doing, and I talk about different things here. Okay, so what do you say to your friends after the EBS? And so I would say, how come you didn't see this? Or they're saying, well, sorry, they say, how come you saw it and I didn't? And what they're really asking you is like, is there some crazy piece of the puzzle that I needed to have that, like if I had seen that for sure, I would have caught it. And you guys could show them the child trafficking or anything else out there. And they've seen about it, but they didn't want to believe it. And the answer is this. What they're really asking you is, what did you know that I didn't? So I want everyone who's listening to this just to close their eyes for half a sec. I want you to see 1,000-piece puzzle in front of you. Now, I want you to think about what you would do. You would lay out the outsides, and you put together the outside, and then you start to like put the colors on the left side, the right side, the bottom side, whatever, and you start laying them out. What they're really asking you is, if I had seen that piece of the puzzle, I would have put it in the right area and completed my puzzle. But the reality is this. You need to ask this question is, how come you didn't follow the evidence? And they should sit there and go, I don't know. The answer is that there's fear of the unknown. They were scared about what could have happened. And because it's scary to not have a known situation. They don't want to look stupid. Let me tell you about what conspiracy theory is about. Conspiracy theory comes out after JFK was killed. The CIA had no answers for the Warren Commission. The Warren Commission was filled with stupid stuff that no one could ever do. And so all they did is started killing off the people that had witnessed it. And then they came up with a theory called the conspiracy theory. Without answering it, they made you feel stupid for being a conspiracy theorist. And what they wanted you to do is, the authorities didn't tell me, they need to have a new logic pattern of self-discovery and personal research. I'm going to kind of come back here, so we'll stop the share here. So I would say it this way. Your friends and family have got to feel, don't mean to be rude here, you got to feel stupid right now once they learn about this. They've got to wallow in the crud that they've been wallowing in for a little bit. Because, by the way, you never get over it if you don't get over it yourself. So, we can't have this situation where the world just gets spoon-fed the information. They've got to start learning to research, because it's not truth that someone just feeds it out to you. And so I would start with that one point. I always start with questions. When I talk to people about masks, I'm like, so I've been trained in masks because I've been in surgery. I know what happens in that. And I say, so okay, So you wear a mask because it's going to protect yourself. Well, then that means you wouldn't get COVID, right? Well, oh, so you have to get a vaccine. Okay, so we have to get 2 vaccine shots and wear the mask, and I'll never get COVID. Oh, no, that's not right. Well, then I got to get a booster. Oh, well, then I get the second and third and fourth boosters, and then I have 18 boosters, and then I still get COVID. And then they had these things like asymptomatic, that frankly, to any medical professional, is the dumbest thing in the history of the world. How do you not have a symptom and be sick? I mean, let me put it to you in a different way. If you are a mechanic and you drive into the dealership and you say, my car's under warranty, I think the timing belt's bad. And they go, well, how much miles does your car have? Well, it's got 12,000 miles. Okay, why do you think the timing belt? Well, I don't know. I just think that it might be a symptom, or it could be. And they're going, go away. You're bugging me. You're making me crazy. You're making stuff up. It's not there. We wait for the symptoms before we treat, or we do a diagnosis of the symptoms and then we treat. That's what mechanics do. That's what good computer specialists do. That's what physicians and other people do. But how do we have asymptomatic? It's because we put these little stupid things all the way up into your nose and all this crazy stuff with that. And they broke logic. And so what we do is we help people see the logic. And I'll tell you a little story. I'm at a place in Oklahoma. It's called Quick Trip, and it's a gas station, but it's a high-end gas station if you're not in those kind of places. And here's the story. So everyone's wearing their mask. I'm not. I'm sitting there. I wish I had my phone out. I could show you the recording and freak you out. So the guy goes and gets his cup, and he gets his Coke, and he comes up to the with this little plastic cup, right? And he's sitting there, and I'm like, why doesn't he have the lid? And so the guy, the cashier goes and grabs it. He takes his little tongs and grabs the tongs and grabs the lid, but drops it. Oh crap! Grabs another one, and he brings it over to the guy. This is exactly what happened. He brings over the guy, and the guy's like, and I'm like, just grab the stupid thing. Finally grabs it, puts it on the lid, so they haven't shared any bodily fluid, right? He pulls into his pocket, pulls out the change, gives him $2.50. The cashier rings it up, pulls out the change, and touches his hand and walks out the door. And I'm going, okay, virologically, you just transmitted any kind of sickness that you had because you don't wear gloves. And there's no hazmat bins, waste bins outside of every single grocery store that you ever have. See, that we're not tracking, we're not paying attention to this because we haven't questioned our reality with that. And so people need to kind of question that reality. So post Nesara, post the EBS, and when Nesara is starting to happen, there's going to be chaos for people because they're questioning everything, and they need to, but they're going to be going through their stages of grief. They're going through their death throes right now. That's why everyone's so irritated right now. You see, 3 years ago, I basically was going to die. My wife was told that over and over again. And I've already been through my death. I'm okay. It says in the Bible, it's okay to die. It's okay. Either I die and be in heaven, or I could be here. I'm fine either way. And most people are scared about it. And the answer is, well, guess what? We're all going through our death experience right here. They're death throes. And once you come on the other end of it, you stop being scared of things in the same way. So anyway.
Now, do you think that the Brazilian election crisis can delay Nesara Gesara?
No, I think it's accelerating it. The Brazilian stuff is pushing the limits of everything. Boy, they stole it. And again, I have friends of mine down there, and it's crazier than you realize. The military is taking over, but it's been a socialist regime for a long time, and the military is just coming in, and they're actually doing little EBSs for a city block area or a couple blocks, and they'll go in and take out the cabal, and then they clear out and go back home, and they're taking out the cabal. That actually is exactly what is going to happen. Every nation in the world, you're going to see craziness, but reality is they've already been doing that in the background. For the last 2 years, I've been up at 3 a.m, and then finally about 4 months ago, I just started getting up, staying awake at 4. I was up at 4 a.m. here, and I just get in prayer. But I've been sitting on my little red chair over here, and I just kind of lay back, and it has a massage or has a heating feature, right? And I'm there, and there are military helicopters going overhead of my house. Guys, you don't understand. There's nothing over my house. Okay, there's a housing division. There's no military base. They're flowing over. They've been flowing over for weeks and months and years. They've been doing a job around you, and you haven't been seeing it. The EBS is just going to show it on the front end of that. And by the way, Trump kind of talked about it in his little 7-minute speech. I mean, he sort of talked about you're not fully getting that too. So